Hey guys, we're back. Alright. I have a stash. Alright. I'm gonna talk to Duncan. You enter Wu's cabin to find him moving through some sort of stretching routine. His muscles ripple as he flows tranquilly from one pose to the next. You look different, Ada. I look older, right? Yeah, like I flipped forward a few chapters instead of turning a page. I mean, you look like you, just not the you I knew. Sounds like song lyrics. Wu chuckles. No more song lyrics for me. I gave up that dream a long time ago. Remember how Lockjaw used to make fun of my singing voice? He smiles, his teeth are perfect. He said I sounded like a frog with a heart on. Lockjaw sounds like fun. He's probably dead. Thought my voice was distinctive. I mean, I'm no Maria Mercurial, but... So, what about you? How are you doing? About how you'd expect been better. Well, I gotta tell you, you're good at running this crew, Ada. But there's something I still don't completely understand. He picks up an ammo box and begins using it like a dumbbell. What do you get out of being a Shadowrunner? I guess this is like one of those questions where I have to decide who Ada is going to be as a character. It's kind of cool that you flesh out your personality through Duncan. I feel like I've decided I don't want her to be a sociopath or an asshole, so I'll just say... about seeing the world how it really is underneath the veneer. Most people don't want to know how the sausage is made. Shit's fucked up bad. You can see it right there from the outside. No need to look beneath the casing to see what's inside. You're not going to like it. And even if you're the type that needs to know, the type that can't help but look into the abyss, what do you get out of it? Odds are you get nothing but a much shorter lifespan. The trade-off doesn't really seem worth it to me. Yet at the end of the day, what are you? A Shadowrunner, a disposable asset, sinless. Slithering through the cracks of society, doing jobs that are too dirty for the cops to do themselves. You don't even appear on a corporate balance sheet. Runners can be more than that. They can move their own agenda, fight the power. I know that's like one of the, like, I feel like that was like one of the very first contentions of Shadowrun, but functionally I don't see it. Make it sound so unglamorous. Oh, I never said we didn't get to dress well. If you're gonna be somebody's disposable asset, you might as well go out in style. Who watches you waiting for you to say something? Think about getting chromed up? With Cyber? He shakes his head. Oh my god, how many times are you gonna ask me that? I'm not gonna pressure him to, like, cut chunks of his body off for money. That's, yeah, no. Well, at least a couple dozen more times, you always have the best reactions. Wu grins, his teeth are blindingly white. I told you one time I was thinking about it when I was 13. Let it go. I'm not gonna pollute my body with that shit, you? I mean, I'm already ogged. I mean, 2 is already a blatant fucking lie. Saving up for something. No judgment here, just don't put too much of that shit on your body. I've heard stories about folks who went too far with it, lost some of themselves. What do you think about that last run? Don't ask me. You didn't take me on that run. Huh. Yeah, he's consistent. Anyway, enough about you. Need anything else? Talk about you and me. His eyes on you for a moment, his face neutral. Yeah, I guess now's as good a time as any you start. Seems like Carter's death hit you pretty hard. Wu continues stretching. Yeah, she was a good one. We were a real team. Joining Lone Star helped me in all sorts of important ways, no doubt about it. I really embraced being a cop. I studied my ass off. But no matter how hard I worked, I was never more than a model cop with a brutal streak. There were plenty of assignments that were perfect for a big, mean orc like me, assignments that would have fed my need to hurt people, but I met Carter about a year in and she changed things. She talked about values and goals and priorities and constructing the life that you want to live. She was a real trip. It's like a good woman. She was a cop, a partner, a mentor. And a serious badass when she needed to be, but yeah, she was a good person too. She kept me focused. When Raymond asked me to meet him in Hong Kong, I had a feeling I was going to wind up going off the reservation if I didn't bring Carter along. Now she's gone and here I am. I mean, I think number one's a lie. At least. Do I want to be the big sister here? Number two, I feel like, is sort of responsible. Maybe. Man, I wish you'd put that a different way, Ada. But I get what you're saying. I don't want to be anyone's attack dog anymore. Wu folds his arms across his chest and nods to himself, satisfied. You're not acting like the Duncan Wu that I grew up with. What made you decide to become a cop? I needed structure bad. You know that better than anyone. I was already hardcore when we met, Mr. Ultraviolence. I'd do anything to get a rise out of the guys I was rolling with. Gouging eyes, inverting knees, curb stomping. That shit got me cheers. I was like a pit fighter bloodletting for the crowd, and I learned to enjoy it. But I never learned how to block out the memories of their screams when I was lying in bed at night. The guilt started eating me alive. And then I was scared to be alone with my thoughts, so I tried to drown them out with all the things that you drown things out with. You never told me that before. I get to how I'm like retroactively deciding how things were. Because 1 and 2 sort of contradict each other. It's nice. Control when we were together. It's funny how people remember things. Yeah, when we squatted together and later, when we were living with Ray, I was still a violent son of a bitch, but basically under control. But that was you, Schick. You were the voice of reason, the brains. Me, the brains. Don't pretend you weren't the leader. You know how it was. When we ran the streets together, I was the muscle and you called the shots. You pointed and I hit. But later, after Ray got me some counseling, I realized I let you call the shots so that I wouldn't have to, because I knew that what I wanted was wrong. By following your lead, I was deflecting my own guilt onto you. I could just knock heads and walk away clean, you know, don't look at me, I'm just doing what I'm told. And then you left. Without you there, I knew that I was in serious trouble, the poster boy for anger management issues. Raymond could provide a stable environment, a decent therapist, and money for prescriptions, but you know Raymond. He's an egghead engineer. He's an engineer. With a philanthropic streak, not a drill sergeant, and a drill sergeant was what I needed. I needed structure and discipline in a way that he couldn't offer me. I needed a cage to keep myself in line. So I found myself a cage made of rules and procedures and training, Lone Star. Raymond helped me with my application, provided a decent character reference. I got in, and it helped a lot. Lone Star got me where I needed to be, and now it's all gone, and you're back. Left, haven't you? Moo chuckles and hooks his thumbs in his belt. I guess I have. Yeah, it's about what you were doing before you got thrown into that corp facility. You said you couldn't tell me where you were going. It was on a need-to-know basis, I get that, but how did it go? Can't tell you that either. I mean, I don't know if 2 is strictly a lie. Or not. I won't tell you that either. Whatever you say, Ada. Do you ever think about when we were kids? Even's moving through some sort of pattern, might be Tai Chi. I try not to. What are you talking about exactly? Time before we moved in with Raymond and Mrs. Maloney. Oh, the dark times. We're not exactly talking about an idyllic youth here, Ada. Sleeping in dumpsters, running from ghouls, fighting over scraps. Woo, stops moving. Drifts off for a moment, defending your territory. We haven't found that spot in the abandoned building, found Lockjaw and Double Tray. We probably wouldn't be here. So weird to think about that now. I mean, you realize they were teenagers, right? Younger than Gobbet. They felt so old back then. But Lockjaw couldn't have been more than 17 tops, and Double Tray was only 13 when... You paused again, lost in thought. What were you thinking about back then? Just think about what DT used to say. Moo returns to his patterns. He manipulates an imaginary soap bubble between his hands. Improvise, adapt, overcome. That's how you beat the street, I remember. I remember Double Tray saying that. It was while we were living between the red-hot nukes and the 162s. Crazy-ass dwarf anarchists on one side and flesh-eating ghouls on the other. Those are the days that you long for? Long for, and I was just thinking that it's the same now as it was back then. His raspy baritone fills the space between you. Bridges it. Survive and watch each other's backs. Yeah, I know. Let's talk later. Yeah, later would be good. Don't get me wrong, catching up is nice, but I'm not used to being as social as this. That's one of the reasons why it was so nice to work under Carter. We both appreciated long silences. Sorry, man, she seemed like good people. It's all good, she's gone, and I've accepted that. I guess it's just been a big day is all. Anyway, good talk. I'll catch up with you later. Isabel's jacked into the octopus. Her body sits inert, her breathing shallow. As you approach, an image blossoms onto the largest of the octopus's view screens. Hello down there. It's good to see you again. She smiles down on you from the monitor, her outline scintillating with blue-white light. She looks peaceful at ease. Really feel at home in the Matrix, don't you? You look happy in there. I suppose that I am. It's a comfort thing. As long as I'm jacked in, I can be whoever I want to be. Whatever I want to be. Out there in meat space, I usually feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I'd probably just live in here if I could. The avatar offers you a lopsided smile. heard about Deckers who tried it and never turned out well. Dehydration is a bad way to go. I know, and of course I was joking, but truth be told, I do spend most of my time out there wishing that I were back in here. If you were a Decker, you'd feel the same. It's hard to live in a cage of meat when you know how sweet it feels to leave your body behind. Nice avatar, that's a good look on you. Isn't it? I've spent months customizing this avatar. She feels more real to me than my own skin. Alright. She pauses for a moment, considering, then her avatar shimmers forward, filling the screen. A slight frown crosses her face. You know, Chick, I've been thinking about the question you asked me a little while back, the one about the walled city. The one that I dodged, the avatar fidgets. You have to make a big thing about it, Isabel, it's fine. It isn't, though, not really. I cheated you out of an answer that I owed you. For what it's worth, I wasn't trying to do that, it's just that talk about the walled city is problematic for me. I understand, I grew up in the Barrens, I know how hard it can be to talk about this stuff. No, it isn't that. I'm not explaining myself correctly. It isn't that I'm tortured by bad memories or anything like that. The problem is that I can't remember my childhood. Oh. The walled city, that entire chapter of my life, is nothing but a blur to me. I could give you general information about life on the inside, but the specifics of my own experience are gone. Gone? What do you mean gone? Do you have amnesia or something? Something like that. The avatar figures on the screen. There were a variety of factors in play, probably involving drugs or brain damage or I don't know. The upshot of all of this is that there are things that I can tell you about, but only a few and only in bold strokes. Don't expect any personal stories. I couldn't share them even if I wanted to. So if that's okay with you, if you'd be satisfied with trivia and urban legends, then we can talk. Just say the word. Otherwise, well, at least now you know why. How did you lose your childhood memories? I bet she doesn't know. The Isabel avatar frowns. I'd rather not go into it. It's personal. Suffice to say that I've never missed them, at least not until now. I won't pressure her. If you ever want to talk about it, I'm a good listener. She looks away. Great, I'll keep that in mind. Give me what you can about the walled city at this point. Anything would help. Alright. The avatar licks its lips, nods. I can do that. Isabel's avatar turns, begins to pace on the screen wherever she steps. Spider webs of light spread across the tiled ground of the octopus's sculpted matrix hub. When I think of the walled city, the thing that stands out the most in my mind is the legends, the mythology of the place. If I hadn't lived with them, I might have found those stories fascinating. The scintillating figure turns to you on the screen. Did you know that the Kowloon walled city is supposed to be cursed? That's what the locals believe. We had ghost stories and everything. Of course you would add ghost stories. Every place has ghost stories. Spirits are real, Isabel. It's funny because real Isabel. Not the ones that we talked about. Our stories didn't concern city spirits or spirits of man or any other known supernatural phenomenon. We had our own homegrown legends about demons from another place, imaginary monsters that haunted the walled city, the Yama Kings. Yama Kings drive from... Ada's dumb. I know a little bit about that, but Ada's dumb as a rock. Tell me what you can about these things. I'd probably be easiest to think of them like urban legends, our own little pantheon of monsters and morality tales to frighten ourselves with at night. The stories are still clear in my mind, even after everything that happened. everyone in the walled city believed them. You can get out of the walled city if you make a deal with Fu Mang. Cut the hearts from the 44 people closest to you and bring them to him. He will reward you with riches. Oh, that's lovely. Don't go under that arch or Shanya will catch you. The Avatar grabs at the air, its hands leaving glowing trails as they move. She'll rip out your teeth, tie your tongue in a knot, and make you her slave for eternity. They had Chieshang, our own homegrown judge of souls. People would let themselves be flayed alive in hopes that he'd reawaken them in a better life. And we had Lam V, the Ebony Queen, who teach you to hide so well that you'd slowly mutate into a cockroach. The Avatar cocks its head, smirking a dismissive gesture. It's all bullshit, of course, but everyone in the walled city believed it. If you're so convinced that these things are myths, why does everyone in the walled city believe in them? Because they're an excuse. My parents and neighbors, their whole generation, invented the things to explain away their own failings. I can't get ahead because demons are keeping me down. Woe is me, woe is me. It's almost embarrassingly transparent when you really look at it. Lamvia turning people to cockroaches, it's just a Kafka-esque trope layering onto a morality tale. Chieshang, she's just Anubis with a different coat of paint. And you know that archway that I mentioned, the one that Shanya was supposed to haunt? I knew someone who found it. There was nothing on the other side but concrete. It's all superstitious drivel shit. The misery in the walled city isn't the fault of demons or devils. We created it and we perpetuate it. We blamed made-up monsters for our own failings. There's nothing more pathetic than that. Sounds less like you're trying to convince me. What about the shared dreams? How do you explain those away? I don't know. Mass psychosis or maybe something magical is going on. But it isn't them. They aren't real. They can't be. Can't be. Anyway, that's enough for now, huh? I'm sure that gives you plenty to chew on. My obligation to give you an answer is satisfied, I think. So let's talk about something else. Can you think of anything else that might help us? I don't know. Maybe I'll put some thought into it. Avatar pauses, turns away. After a moment, Isabel's voice pours through the Tridio speakers. On second thought, maybe I do have an idea. Are you open to taking on more work? Of course, kindly sending me new job offers all the time. This wouldn't be work for Auntie Chang. Think of it as a side gig that you'd be doing for me. I think I've got a line on some software that could help us. I can't get it on my own, though. It's a two-person job at least. What kind of software? You okay with this? Sure, what does she care if we pick up a little extra scratch on the side? I mean, I wouldn't go out of the way to tell her about the job or anything, but even if she were to find out, it's really none of her business. We're her employees, not her property. I have the run all planned out already. I've done the legwork. I know the location. I know the target. Just say the word and I'll send everything I have to your mission computer. You can look it over, weigh it, and decide what you want to do. Alright, send the file. Isabel Avatar closes its eyes for a moment, then opens them with a smile. Done. You'll find the pertinent documents waiting in your inbox. If you decide to accept the mission, just check the box in the message documentation. I'll ping my comlink automatically. Alright, can we wait to find out what this is all about? I'm sure that the briefing I sent you will satisfy your curiosity. Trust me, Shik, this is a good job with a solid plan behind it. You'll see as soon as you've read it. And speaking of which, you should do that right now. Get right to it, I will. Alright, but don't keep me waiting too long. Now, was there anything else that you want to talk about? Any thoughts on that last run? She shakes her head. Nope, sorry. Jacking into the octopus is how I relax after a long day of work. Some people go to sports bars or strip clubs. I do this. As a rule, I don't spoil my leisure time with shop talk. But we're all talking shop, aren't we? There's a difference between the job and our lives. It's after hours. I don't want to talk about work. So if you wouldn't mind changing the subject. Gotta go, Isabel. Sure, drop by any time. I think she should be more pissed. Because the one elder she liked was killed by Gaichu, so I feel like, to be fair, Gaichu wasn't too much of an asshole about killing how he killed the elders, but I feel like she'd still be bitter about that. Gobbet looks up from a dented tin of oysters at the sound of your approach. Her rats, madness and folly, scurry from her hips to her shoulders. Two sets of beady red eyes fix themselves on you. Hey, Seattle oyster. She spares a gray lump of seafood with a fingernail, extends it to you. It smells like low tide at a municipal pier. Eat the oyster, sure, why not? You pop the rubbery wad of flesh into your mouth and chew. An explosion of lukewarm brine is your reward. Alright. I mean, I got high body. This probably won't kill me. Good, right? Half-expressed memories of dumpster diving and the Barons dance a merry jig in your brain as the mangled oyster slides down your throat. Yeah, delicious. I wouldn't go that far, but it's seafood and it isn't made of soy. That makes it good in my book. She tilts back the tin, drains the remaining juice, and then flicks it into the overflowing bin at her side. So what do you need? You know, the Bolt Hole is a pretty mediocre name for a ship. Ever considered changing it? Yeah, sure. Considered it a bunch of times. I never really cared enough to actually do it, though. She's like, you want to call her something else? I'm open to it. Defiance, the revenge feels appropriate. Dowager Empress has a nice ring to it. Kraken, big Texas. I'm not have anything to do with Texas, but I mean, Ada's from Seattle, and I've never been to. I have nothing. Or just too dramatic. I feel like the Defiance has been taken. Dowager Empress, is that a... For some reason I feel like Dowager Empress would, like, kindly would look at that as like a veiled threat or something, I don't know. Defiance. Aye, aye, Captain, the Defiance it is. She nods thoughtfully. Yeah, that's really not bad. I think the others will be happy with it. How do you like life here on the Defiance? It's fine, you're shaping up. Having new roomies is always nice. She smiles. How are you enjoying your cabin? Comfy enough for you? It isn't half bad, better than some of the places I squatted in back in the Barrens. I've heard stories about the Redmond Barrens. Sounds like a real winner of a place. Kowloon isn't any better, of course, but at least our little slice of home is safe. I think the Defiance over the Barrens any day. That's the spirit. A lazy smile spreads across her face as her fingertips brush Madness's back. The rat squeals and darts back into the safe haven of Gobbet's hair. Thoughts about that last run? I don't get the Wampoans, I really don't. Isabel is about as close as I usually get to their particular flavor of crazy. You'd think with all that technology and backup, they'd have been smart enough not to stiff a red samurai on payment, much less a ghoul. How do we know... We don't know that he's a red samurai yet. We just know that he's a ghoul. We've deduced that he has Renraku armor, and it probably worked for them. I don't know, for smart people, they seem pretty damn dumb to me. I think we pulled off damn miracle back there. Not only did we get a creepy-ass close combat expert on our side, we closed the elders and got ourselves a nice bonus for being smart. Not a lot of jobs go that right. I'm feeling better and better about having you in charge, Seattle. So what else did you want to chat about? You said you'd teach me how to be a better Shadowrunner. I'm here to collect. Still remember that, do you, huh? I just sort of assumed that you'd laugh that off. No dice, wise inventor. You offered. Now pay up. She straightens. Okay. How about this? I'll tell you a story about a run gone bad. You tell me what you'd have done in the runner's place, and then we'll compare notes on your answer. How does that sound? You tell me. You're the teacher here, remember? Right. It sounds good. Of course it does. That's what we'll do. She sweeps a tangled rope of hair out of her eyes and back over one pointed ear. After a moment of silent contemplation, she bites her lip and nods. Okay, so this is a story from early in my career. I was part of a team here in HK, but I did some occasional moonlighting for another group based out of Macau. I was a busy kid. I mean, orcs aged fast, so being 12 is like being 24 for an orc. Who was on this other team? Anyone I might know? I feel like I'm missing opportunities by not asking questions, but I feel like she isn't going to want to... Yeah, whatever, fuck it. Not unless she wanted to talk to dead people. She pauses, raises an eyebrow. That was a spoiler, by the way. The run didn't end well. Anyway, the job was a hit on this tower, sort of a Trid multiplex / apartment complex. I'm sure that you've got them in Seattle too. You know the kind. 7 huge screens, monster concession stand, coffin apartments on top like barnacles on a whale. I used to go to one back in Seattle. Best way to watch urban brawl. She nods good. You know what I'm talking about then. Our client wanted us to break into one of the apartments. The story was that an ex of hers, a guy named Boggs, lived there. She'd been cooped up with him until about a week prior, then things went sour in a big way. She wanted us to get back some things that Boggs kept when he kicked her out. Scared the shit out of him, bloody him up a bit, make it look like a robbery, you know the drill. Standard smash and grab then. Yeah, it was a pretty Bush League gig, but the pay was decent enough, not the sort of thing you'd turn down. So anyway, Sibilance. That was our group leader, had a plan. We knew that we had to go in quiet because the Metroplex had a panic system wired directly to the HKPF. It'd be gone in shooting. We'd have been drowning in cops within 10 minutes. Sib thought that we could maybe take advantage of the apartment's terrible soundproofing and kick in Boggs' door when the movie got loud. We camp out near his doorway, wait for the ceiling to start raining plaster, then smash our way in with his neighbors none the wiser. Sid thought that we would take advantage of the apartment's terrible soundproofing. There's no way that would work. I don't know, it might have if things had gone different, but it's what we did, so pipe down and let me tell you the rest of the story. So we waited in the hall, just like Sibilance planned. We had a guy in the elevator, another at the stairs. I was waiting by the floor's communal kitchen. Sid took up a position by the door. She had those cyber legs that she dumped a ton of Nuyen into, hydraulic jacks, strength enhancements, the works. A girl could probably leg press a dump truck. She paused for a moment. Come to think of it, most of her plans involved kicking things. There's something a little sad about that. This woman was the best suited to lead this particular group of runners. Tragically, yes, everyone else was various shades of amoral or screwed in the head. Sibilance might have had a tendency to solve all of her problems the same way, but she was better than the alternatives. Anyway, we heard a boom from downstairs, felt the walls shake with the reverb. Sib wheeled back and gave the door a massive kick, just as she'd planned. From where I was standing, I couldn't really see what happened next. I could hear a massive crack as her boot slammed into Duroplast. The door flew off its hinges, exploded off might be a more accurate phrase. A second later, we heard an ungodly crash. There's a moment of silence, then Sib let out this little gasp. The apartment was in shambles. It looked like a hurricane had hit it. Everything was trashed. Everything but the door, which was miraculously still in one piece. Remember that this was a coffin apartment. It wasn't much wider than the door was to begin with. And Boggs, well, what was left of him was under the door, too. Left of him. Boggs was inside. It didn't turn out well. Yeah, it wasn't good. Boggs was dead, and this stuff that we'd been sent there to recover had been smashed to bits, and then the building alarm went off. Up. So that's the situation. Our payday is smashed. My temporary teammates are all standing around with stupid looks on their faces. The cops are coming. I'm standing by the kitchen. She plants her hands on her hips. What would you have done in my place? I tried to improvise. Was there anything in the kitchen you could use to resolve the situation? Good thinking. As it happens, there was, and I knew just what to do with it. The thought popped into my head, and I just went with it. She taps her temple with a smile. That's a lesson to remember, Seattle. The first answer that you come up with is almost always the best one you're going to have, so just roll with it. Don't second-guess yourself. Don't hesitate. Just act. You'll live longer that way. Got it. Now, when I think crowded theater, I think a place where you can't shout fire because it'll cause panic. And then I thought, cops don't charge into burning buildings, they help people get out of them. And as it happened, I had the means to create real, genuine fire sitting right across from me, a pair of industrial ovens. Is it the building on fire? I'll be neutral. I encouraged it to burn. Open the gas vents wide, set the range on a timer, and motor back into the hallway. The others had started arguing amongst themselves. I told them to snap out of it and follow me down into the lobby. We had to clear the hallway before an errant spark took the whole floor out. Unfortunately, the rest of the group wouldn't listen. Sib and the rest of the team were too busy arguing about the relative merits of her let's kick things really hard and see what happens tactical system to want anything to do with me. I shouted back to them that the kitchen was going to explode and continued down the hallway. Just like I'd planned, I got out of that run in one piece, so did every single one of the people in that multiplex. My fire plan worked beautifully. If the rest of the team had listened to me, they might have gotten out of the building too. Kind of a bummer that they didn't, but at least the run turned out well for me. Somehow. Well, I couldn't collect any pay because the run had been a disaster. But after the explosion, I got to ride in the front of the fire truck, and they gave me cookies and a blanket. I wound up dating one of those firemen a few weeks later. All things considered, it could have gone a lot worse. Maybe she banged a fireman. I mean, lots of chicks want to bang firemen, apparently. Gobbet clasps her hands together and rubs them, a satisfied look on her face. So, Seattle, the laughter disappears from her voice and her expression goes serious. It's like somebody flipped a switch. Suddenly, the look in her eyes is shrewd, calculating. Tell me, what was the moral of this story? What lesson was I trying to convey? Don't go on Shadowruns with idiots. I mean, I feel like don't go on Shadowruns is probably a good moral, but I think go with your gut is the moral that you want to say. Gut, I guess. She nods sagely. That's right. Trust your impulses and don't be afraid to wing it. Almost any action is better than no action at all. Once you've committed to doing something, you've got to follow it through. Just no arguing or hand-wringing. Just do it. Just do it. If you get caught up in your own head, agonizing over past mistakes, well, don't be surprised if you wind up dead. A kitchen fire can take you down as easily as a cop's bullet if you stand around and let it. Are you certain that Sibilance and the rest of Sibilance? Is that a word? And the rest of the Macau team are dead? She shrugs. They weren't with me when I got evacuated with the rest of the moviegoers. I never saw them leave the building, and I haven't heard from them since. I bet they're gonna have, like... I wonder if there's gonna be, like, a revenge story. Like, they're all like, oh, you fucking almost killed... I guess it's possible that somebody made it, but I don't really run in those circles anymore. Odds are good that if anyone from the Macau team did survive, they'll have died off by now from sheer incompetence. Shadowrunning is an unforgiving business. You don't get to make too many mistakes. Did any of the stuff in that story actually happen, or did you just make it up for my benefit? Seattle, I'm hurt. It all went down exactly like I said it did, she pauses. Well, except for a couple of embellishments here and there, but they make it a better story, artistic license and all that. Albert leans back and stifles a yawn. Madness and folly dart up to her left shoulder and lock her beady eyes on you. I hate to break it to you, kiddo, but I'm beat. It's been a long day. Lesson's over for now. We'll pick it back up next time. You are. I'm sure you're calling kiddo. I'm older than you are. Yeah, whatever. She makes a brushing motion with her fingers. Scurry along now. Your mentor needs her rest. Alright. Alright. So I'm basically in prime shape. I'm gonna just see what... Ah. Let me go check and see what's available. For me to purchase. I doubt I can buy anything at this point, but or anything I'd want to get. Tanner Ambrose. Hey, my fellow countrywoman returns. You want some chips and dip? Help yourself, it's on the end of the block. Spider-Drone walks past you carrying a biohazard bag with a severed arm in it. There's a big Sahara Combat League race tonight. Everybody's coming over. You want to come? No, I bet Kindly's keeping you busy. So you're from the UCAS Midwest. How'd you land in Hong Kong? Ambrose bites one of his nails and regards you with a hint of suspicion. Well, it's a long story and kind of personal. It involves some jobs, a girl, a real good reason to leave Chicago, a whole shit ton of guns and money. The girl was involved in you getting here, huh? Getting involved in the story. Yeah, there was. It's a story. He shrugs awkwardly as if it makes light of it. His voice has a hint of strain in it. That's a story for another day. Alright. Well, it sounds like a good story. Yeah, stuff like that. Ambrose smiles. He seems to warm up a little. I was a hardcore vehicle rigger back then, before Johnny Law cracked down on road rigs. Man, those were the cowboy days. Freaky as hell, but great to remember. Ambrose gets a wistful look on his face. We'd rebuild trucks in chop shops, reinforce the frames, bolt armor on, mod the suspension with robotics, drive them right through the front windows of buildings, then bash aside Lone Star cruisers on the way out. Good times. You do that in Hong Kong, you get auto barricades and a missile in Yima. Crying shame. Anyway, I need to get out of Chi-Town, spread my wings, you know how that goes. I feel like I can't just tell him to shut up, because I asked anyway. Chicago, are you following the news of the quarantine? Ambrose's face darkens. Yeah, I am. It's a terrible thing that just happened there. My old hood is inside the containment zone. A lot of good peeps locked behind that wall. Sounds rough. Let's move on. Let's. I've been gone from Chicago for more than 10 years. It's ancient history to me. Hong Kong seems like a long way just to get a break from Chicago. Ambrose smiles, but there's a steely look in his eyes. Sometimes a guy just needs a change of scene. Hey, it's a grand digging up the wreckage of the past chick, but time's a waste and I left Chicago. I landed in the Kong. After a while of running the Kong shadows, I landed here in Chrome Alley. That's really the gist of it. Gist. I hate words that start with G's because I never know if it's a G or a J. Show me your services. Sure thing. Tune-up or spare parts. Cyberware. Okay. Skill wires. Quickness, range combat, throwing weapons, dodge. Basic eyes. Hand razors. One armor. All nice and plastic. Be quickness. I think I looked at a list of all the cyberware that's available in this game. And I don't know if I just want to save up. Yeah, I'll just save up money and see what they need to go later. Probably shouldn't dally anymore. I should just get off to another mission. Board train. Drake. Dig site. This. Brunch Shirky, a maid traveling through Hong Kong. Eos. Drones and submachine guns. Right. Powerbolt. Physical magician. Spellcasting, okay. The cyberware. Mercenary shaman. El Duce. Plague Left Factory. I'll take Donkey, because I haven't brought him along yet. Bring in the new blood. I really don't know if I'm going to need to go into the Matrix or not. I don't like the but I really don't have any magical support, so I mean, really I think in general, Isabel, from what little I've seen of the combat, Isabel's a little better when we have to in a fight. I mean, basically with Gobbet, once I cast the once I get a spirit, and then it becomes more of a then that's mostly where her combat effectiveness comes from, is just summoning these spirits and whatever. Go, no magic. About to travel to Emperor Tomb Museum. Continue. Yes, confirm. This job is a golden opportunity in more ways than one. A raid of the in-development museum, the Emperor's Tomb. The museum's claim to fame is its location. It rests on top of ancient catacombs, where an excavation is underway to convert them into the museum proper. Intel has it that the workers are dying, not from on-site accidents, but from magical disturbances in the area. I should have brought in magical fucking assistance just for that, but what the fuck ever. Despite the hazards, development continues. Your client, Mr. Drake, contacted you to retrieve 2 tomes, probably ancient, magical, priceless, but it won't be a smash in the park. You have to get to the tomes before they're cataloged, where they'll afterward be near impossible to access. As you near the museum, its height and grandeur looms unsettling over you. Even unfinished, it's reached an imposing size. At least that means it has plenty of room for pricey antiques. The best part, Mr. Drake needs this run to look unprofessional. Shattered glass and looting is encouraged. Anybody named Mr. Drake in Shadowrun makes me uneasy, because I think it's their dragon. Okay, enough of that. Game auto-saved. You have karma available to improve your character's attributes and abilities. Open the karma screen. Right. All I can really do is just, like, improve one stat. Alright. It should work just like Drake said. You creep into the dark, unfinished site. Mr. Drake, your comlink clicks in your ear, connecting a call. Good. Now be appraising what you see as you go through this floor. Grab the best stuff, and my alarm suppression should keep you afloat. Just don't get too ballsy. If the books haven't been cataloged yet, they'll still be in the basement, the tomb. I'll be in touch. The earpiece clicks off. Call disconnected. He didn't even stay on the line long enough for you to get a word in. Your team powers up the nearby generator. Work lights along the new marble flooring sleepily flicker to life. Everyone surveys the site. Gaichu tilts his head toward the light. The work lamps act as light buses for his blind eyes. Lighthouses, exposing the layout of the hall. Takes in a deep breath of the dusty air. There's nothing alive in these walls but us. A welcome change. I guess Gaichu's super senses makes up for a lot of the not having a goblet. Welcome, but don't you need food? I'm always hungry, but the less meat I'm surrounded by, the more I can focus. Remind me not to bring you on the next hostage extraction. And both ancient books. Worth of artifacts. Optional steal $10,000 worth of artifacts. Okay, neat. Objective added. Do not trip the museum alarm. Alright. So, with all of that underway, I'll cut it off here and leave you guys with another boring fucking me talking and reading out loud episode. And we'll have hopefully something more action-packed next installment. Bye.